All right, everybody. We are here for another episode of Dave's R&R Rambles and Reviews with your host here, Dave. I've got a review for you today. I went to the opening night of Thor: Love and Thunder last night, and we'll get into my rating at the end, but we'll start with a little background here. This is Thor's fourth solo movie in the MCU. The first one to get four. Iron Man got three. Captain America got three. Spider Man's at three. But Thor is the first person to have four. After one and two were kind of misses compared to everything else in the Marvel Universe, they really hit the nail on the head with Ragnarok. So this was one of the most anticipated movies in a while, at least from an entertainment standpoint. I didn't think the story was going to be as deep as anything like Doctor Strange was, but after such a great third movie, I thought they were going to bring a lot here for the fourth movie for Thor. And I'm not going to lie, spoilers ahead, so stop now if you want to see the movie but don't want to know what happens. I was super disappointed in the movie, actually. It was still a solid movie all around, but it didn't live up to number three at all. It didn't live up to all the potential they had going into it. You bring Christian Bale in as Gore the Butcher, um, the Butcher of the Gods, and while he was alright at times in the movie, it just seemed like they could have done so much more with his character. And this kind of revolves around a whole theme of the movie of it being a lot shorter than any of the other superhero movies that have come out lately. We've been getting used to these movies that are about 2 hours and 40 minutes, 2 hour and 50 minutes. This one clocked in at an hour and 59 minutes, so right under 2 hours. And it just seemed like it cut around a lot. There was a lot of details that could have been fleshed out more. I think the story in general could have been fleshed out more. So it just seemed like there's a lot left on the table. And I'm sure this could be one of the ones where they do put out an extended version in the future, especially because it does seem like the hype for this one isn't as high. The reviews are averaging in the 60s range right now. So it's definitely considered one of the weaker movies lately in the Marvel Universe. And I think that has a big part to do with it just not being as fleshed out as usual. The story had some misses in it. The humor just seemed like it was way too much at points, which it worked in Ragnarok, but this one seemed like it had a little too much compared to the other ones. I think they should have kept the Guardians in longer, but that again kind of circles back to not everything being fleshed out as much. And like I said, Christian Bale's character, they needed to show more butchering of the gods for him to be such a viable threat. It didn't seem like he was really that credible of a villain because they didn't really show too much of him. Now, not everything about this movie was bad. It was still a Thor movie, so had great action all around. The scenery was amazing, especially the shots when they went to the Shadow Realm and had the fight with Christian Bale's character. And I thought that was super well done. It was very cool. It was a nice contrast from usually all the huge colors we see in the Marvel Universe. So it's just very black and white shadow feel to it, and that was really cool. And the humor, while it was overbearing at some points, it did hit a lot on the scenes with the Guardians of the Galaxy were hilarious. So when Volume 3 comes out, I feel like they're going to trend upwards with that. Thor had some good humor in it. It just was missing something. And it was missing something because it could have had another 20-25 minutes to it. The goat humor I thought was interesting. It seems like everyone online's conflicted with that. Personally, I thought it was more funny than not. There were some moments I was like, here's the goat screams again. But a lot of times it did work. And then the big part of this movie, a big thing about the advertising was Natalie Portman coming back, reviving the character that we haven't seen since Thor 2, and turning her into Lady Thor. And I think they could have done a lot more with that as well. She was a pretty big basis of the advertising for this movie, and it seemed like a very woman empowering kind of advertising they had to it. But it really just showed her more often as, you know, a weakened character. She did have the cancer in the movie, and that eventually led to the end of her. But I kind of wish we would have seen more of her and some more backstory of her fighting before leading to it, which, like I've said a couple times now, it all circles back to them needing to really flesh it out more. And we can talk about the post-credit scenes too. The first one, Zeus was still alive, which I don't think they really needed. It seemed like they made such a big deal about Thor throwing the bolt through Zeus and killing Zeus that this scene could have happened without Zeus. But we've got one actor that everybody has been a big fan of since Ted Lasso. He played Roy Kent in the show. Brett Goldstein. He's officially in the Marvel Universe now. He's going to play Hercules. And it's assuming the next Thor is going to be him coming after Thor to avenge Zeus. And our post-credit scene shows Natalie Portman ending up in Valhalla, where the gods end up after dying in battle, if they die in battle. Now this, I think, definitely sets up Thor dying within the next movie or two he appears in, because she's there, they ended up loving each other at the end. That's going to be his happy end, and he's going to, probably sacrifice himself for the greater good, and then end up in Valhalla with Lady Thor, Jane Foster, and they can have happily ever after in the afterlife. And to me, that's just a question of when's that happen. Is it going to happen in the next Thor solo movie, or are they going to let Thor live it out a little longer so he can take place in the next big war, big fight scene, where we're still waiting towards where they're going to head in the universe, who's the next Thanos. So hopefully by the end of Phase 4 we'll know that. But, it really just is a matter of time for Thor now, but I think that all but confirms he's going to die sooner or later. Even though Chris Hemsworth says he'll play the character until they don't want him to play it anymore, I see that coming to an end sooner than later, especially with the reviews of this movie. After such a revival in Ragnarok, it just kind of is a shame to see. It's not as bad as the first two Thors, but it's definitely a lower tier, especially in the Phase 4. It might be my second least favorite one of Phase 4 so far. So the rating I'm going to go with here is a 7.5 out of 10. Like I said, our big negative here is it just didn't have enough time in an hour 59 to flesh out all the characters, flesh out everything that's going on. But it did have some positives. It did have some good comedy when it did hit. Chris Hemsworth's always great as Thor. Natalie Portman did her best with Lady Thor, and Christian Bale was excellent for what we got to see out of him. And the Guardian scenes, even though it was like maybe 15 minutes, was the highlight of Act 1. Act 1 was a little weak after that. Act 2 was so-so. I thought the third act and the final battle and everything was great. A little questionable with the kids and the whole battle, but that's another whole rant there that I don't really want to get into. So we're going with Thor, Love and Thunder, 7.5 out of 10. Thank you for tuning in. This is our second episode for the week, a little twofer. I had to see the movie, so I had to get a review out going into the weekend. I'm going to post this immediately. Thank you for all the support. Keep tuning in, keep downloading, keep subscribing. Follow on social media, Instagram and Twitter at Dave's R&R, and let me know what you thought of the movie. I'll put up some polls to see what people are thinking, and maybe we're on the same page. Do you think it was a 7.5? Do you think it was higher than that, or do you think it's lower? Just comment, subscribe, everything, and just have a great weekend, everybody.